What's up, guys? I'm Frenzy. Welcome back to the Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. So, as you guys all know, patch 16 screwed up everything when they changed rooms, and they didn't mention anything about changing rooms, and pretty much defending is going to be almost impossible in this patch. Like, unless people start to come up with some unique ways of defending, which hopefully I'm going to be able to do, but right now, I have almost no testing. If we load this up, a lot of these replays were when I was still building, you know? And I got shielded while I was still building, so I have 8 hours left on my shield. So I have a long time before I'm going to be able to test all this stuff out. And I encourage anyone that's like up around level 24 to come and test my castle so I can watch replays if they don't bug out on me, because a lot of the times they bug out. But that being said, the ideas that I'm about to show, you know, they're not like finalized, they're not refined at all. They're just kind of things that I threw together, and hopefully you guys can brainstorm off of these type of things and on your own. And if you come up with some good ideas, throw your name in viewer castles and I'll get to your castle eventually. And hopefully I can learn a few things from you. Hopefully you learn a few things from this video. So let's begin. Alright, so my first room hasn't really changed. The only thing that's changed is the monsters that I put in it. You're kind of coming in. I have this Enrager that I need to change the way he's like facing and all of that stuff so he actually enrages the Scorpio. Hopefully I can get that done. That's something that I need to test, and probably what I'll do as soon as I end this video. But with that, I have a dampener down here. So basically you get hooked in, you have the fire mines here which combo well with it, and you get, you know, silenced, and you won't be able to cast any abilities. And it's a pretty annoying room. The few people who have attacked my castle struggle in this room quite a bit, so I like it. Not too bad. So that's not really unique ideas. But here we go with some different stuff. So Spike Trap's got a pretty big buff, but not like, oh my god, a kind of buff. I mean, it's reasonable. They do about 375 damage to my archer. I'm assuming it'll be around 300, maybe a little under for knights. So it's not terrible. That being said, they're kind of big and bulky, and they're hard to make use of because of that fact. Like, a lot of the reason, I wish I could have this right up next to this door. However, because you can't build traps on the line in between these two rooms, you know, this yellow line, you can't actually place traps on there. It makes things a lot more difficult to actually place these big traps in a good location and make use of them. So the idea behind this room is you're coming in and you'll get aggroed right around here. Okay, so you have this guy who's lined up for that hook right there. If he gets his hook off, he'll pull you into here, and then you'll have this guy who's going to turn towards you and hook you over to him, and then the Cyclops will come down on your head and stun you, and all the while you're probably going to take 2, maybe 3 ticks of damage, depending on where the teeth are actually like opening at that time. 2 to 3 ticks of damage, which is around 900 damage. 6 to 900 damage just from the Spike Trap alone. Maybe 300 or 400 from the Cyclops, and then you have the Archer here to add a little bit of extra effect. So that's kind of the idea from this first pull. If you skip the entire thing, people are going to often want to go up towards the top. This entire room, you can't really predict which way the hero's going to go. You can just kind of force him the way you want to using traps. So I kind of don't want people to come down here for 2 reasons. One, this Cyclops I have here, I don't want people to be able to see him first. It's not the end of the world if they do, but I would prefer them to be, you know, engaging a Snotter beforehand. And something I could do is change out this Snotter for this Cyclops down here. That would only make, the only downside to that would make this Cyclops get to this side a little bit slower. But something I might do after I see a few replays. The other reason you wouldn't want people to go down toward this side is if you're down here, you actually get more vision of all of this area as you're going in. Whereas if you go towards the top side and you get to this area, you can't really see what's down in this room because of the skill bar. So that's kind of why I'm trying to force heroes up towards the top side. But this is basically just a straightforward 3 Cyclops, 2 Snotters for spotting, and, you know, time waster type thing. Alright, so this is another one of those Spike Traps things that I had, except this time I'm using a Scorpio, and it's a little bit different because your aggro circles and pretty much everything that, you know, engaging this group, you have to basically be standing on these Spike Traps. You can't really avoid these. You have to go over them. So the idea is you come far enough to get aggroed, then you see the Scorpio. If you want to pull back to dodge the Scorpio hook, you have to run back onto these Spike Traps, taking an extra tick or 2 of damage. If not, you get pulled in, stunned, and the Scorpio does a little bit of damage, you know, how Scorpios do, just by themselves anyway. So that's kind of how I'm trying to set this up, see if it works. and I'll try to make some modifications to it if it doesn't work out the way I want it to. So continuing on, this room I haven't changed much. It's the room that connected into this when I did my live castle building episodes. The only thing I changed was I changed how it was kind of laid out, because I have this here. I couldn't have this pull through the wall like I had before. So instead I have this as a normal thing, and then I have kind of the far pull down into here, and I changed out my Scorpio with a Mega Mutton. Just kind of going through the stats and looking at things, I could bring it up here in the summoning portal. If you just go through and kind of look at Mega Mutton, his stats are actually pretty decent. 2,700 life and 600 physical damage, along with the charge when injured and a fire trail, is pretty reasonable when you look at all the other creatures, all the other elites. You know, it's even better than Scorpio's health, a little bit less damage, and a little bit less life than a Pete Poundmore, but a little bit more damage. So it's kind of on that same scale, I think. However, it seems to not, work quite as well as those units for whatever reason. But I figured I'd throw them in my dungeon a little bit and just to see how they perform. I'm trying to look for new creatures that I can actually make use of. So, if I like this creature and he starts to work out, maybe I can set something up with his charge. So basically, I just threw him in to test him out a little bit. This is all pretty basic stuff, though. 2 Cyclopses and a pull. The pull could probably be changed out. Initially, this was used when I had them pulling through this wall. The pull would come up and pull you into the next aggro circle. So currently, I could probably change this to something else. Maybe a dampener would probably be okay. But other than that, this entire room has remained unchanged. So we'll just continue on from there. I have a Pete Poundmore up here with the Enrager. The Enrager should be working okay. I might have to move this Snotter up a square. But then I have to risk, him being skippable, so maybe I would have to move the Bone Puppeteer down or something, but I have to test this and go through it to make sure that this Enrager is working, but I think he might be. If not, he's pretty close to being able to enrage the Pete Poundmore. So moving on, this room I actually kind of like. I hate the fact that they, did this to the room, but this actually makes it almost impossible for knights to engage this properly without running all the way back around to either this or all the way back out. And the reason behind that is when a knight engages this, they have to come up, and they have all these guys come up towards this edge where they can finally see the knight again, and then they'll really just stand there and wait until the knight engages them, right? Because they're in range, so they don't have to move at all. But if the knight engages them, they have to engage inside of this wall. So I kind of like how this is against knights. Against archers, it kind of sucks. Unless, of course, they get pulled, which I haven't had any success with, but again, I only have a couple of replays to work with. So far, the knights have the hardest time dealing with this, because they have to try to either pull one at a time these guys out from this jelly wall, or they have to engage inside of it. Slower attack speed and slower movement rate means you get hit by more balls. So I think I like that okay. I don't think I'll have to change this all that much. So moving on, I have this room here. This again is something that I'm just kind of trying to toy around with. I kind of have like a triple pull set up, like a possibility of a triple pull, I guess. You have this Snotter that's going to be pulling through into this Scorpio, Dampener, and Bone Puppeteer. Can't be skipped, although it looks like it can be skipped here if you go this way. If you come back around, you will get hit by this eventually. So it's just the added possibility that they'll pull this and maybe pull this on top of it, and then as they're fighting this entire group, the Scorpio comes around and can pull you into this group. As for the monsters themselves, obviously the Scorpio comes around so that it does have that pulling potential. Again, a Mega Mutton because I'm testing it out. I had a Zeke here initially, but with the wide open room and how it is, Zeke is pretty easy to dodge. So I wanted to try something else that would just be like straight up bulky and tanky, and Mega Mutton just kind of came to mind. I didn't want to throw in another Pete Poundmore or anything like that. I'm trying to test out new things, so threw in the Mega Mutton. We'll see how he does. And then afterwards, once you clear all this, if you don't, get the triple pull or whatever, you have this little slowing jelly wall, and as you're coming in, you're going to aggro right at the edge of this jelly wall, and then you can make a choice. You can either run in towards the archers and get hit by them. Looks like I just changed the specialization. Let's switch that back. Or you can try to pull back, in which case the archers are going to hit you anyway. So the best option for people would be to just run straight in, but it's not always what they choose to do. So this is kind of just trying to set up these shots for, you know, Zeke hitting his 3 headshots and the Archer hitting his 2. And hopefully that can do a reasonable amount of damage. So going through here, obviously this can either be pulled through the wall, or they can skip this Snotter, come back around here, and then, you know, they're engaging onto this spike trap. Again, I just threw in this spike trap. I don't know why, honestly. There's really no reason for it. It's just the fact of the matter is, traps right now are not that good. You know, they nerfed the rotating cannon traps so much that 1 tick from spike trap now is equal to 3 ticks from the rotating cannon trap. So honestly, I feel like in these circumstances where you can't dodge the spike traps, it might almost always be better to try for 1 tick of this. You know, they're both almost equally dodgeable, so in these circumstances I think spike traps are okay. If, you know, maybe a glue trap would be better for me because it helps with this hook or something, I don't know, but I just threw it in without any really replays to kind of gather from. I don't know how well it's going to work. Probably won't do hardly anything, but the boss room remains unchanged. I'm still like kind of brainstorming what I want to throw in here. I mean, so far this shouldn't have been changed enough where it really needs to be changed. So far I've still seen a lot of 3 Scorpio boss rooms. You know, I've done some castles to try to get a little bit of added insight onto what other people are doing, and not many people have changed their castles yet. So we're still waiting on that, and hopefully I can, you know, draw some extra ideas from other people up at this area as well. But this is kind of what I kind of thought up, and I guess maybe I'll run through it really quick so you guys can see it in action. Again, it's not the best defense ever. It's not nearly as much, like, as good as it used to be before the patch. So, you know, if you copy it and it's not like winning every time, you know, don't be mad at me. So yeah, we'll just jump in here. Like, obviously people don't know what's coming. I do, so I kind of play it a little bit differently. That's why I like replays of other people. But yeah, I mean, this dampener, you can tell just how annoying he is when you're trying to engage this Scorpio. Like, obviously it's probably better for me to just kill off the dampener first and then deal with it. And also, archers, you guys should probably switch back to headshot. Even though it was nerfed pretty heavily in patch 15, split shot was nerfed pretty heavily in 16. So I've decided to switch back to headshot. It's a better DPS skill, like for single target DPS. So here, I mean, I might heal up and just show how it's supposed to work. It looks like that guy actually jumped the gun. So, like I said, I haven't done nearly enough testing with every single thing, but then he pulls me a second time. You can see the ticks of damage are pretty high, around 300. So that's not too bad. And let's try not to die here. But again, like, this probably isn't the best thing, the best way I could be using spike traps. I'm having trouble finding rooms to actually use these in just because they're so big and bulky. So here we go with this. The Cyclopses, it's just mainly a time waster, not nearly as like a pain for archers to deal with as it would be for knights. Archers tend to have more problems with the Scorpios, and knights tend to have more problems with those type of units. So like you can see here, I don't really know what's coming, and I have to kind of go onto the spike trap. That's why you want to force people up in this top area, because, you know, I can time this out and try to get through, but I still take 2 ticks of damage, and then, you know, I'm in here. This Cyclops needs to be delayed more. So, I mean, even with this little bit of testing that I'm doing myself, I can see little problems that I should be changing. And it looks like I might die here if I don't be too careful. Yeah, I'll die. Okay, well, I'll just heal and keep going. But yeah, that Cyclops needed to be changed because he didn't actually get his stun off. So I need to change him and delay him a little bit. Not very much. Alright, so here you can see, like, I have quite a bit of time where I could go down this hallway, thinking that I pulled something through there. And you can see, like, Mega Mutton, he's got quite a bit of life. It's going to take 3 headshots like that to kill him, and I have really good gear. Likewise, that fire actually does pretty good damage, and then you can get hit by that, and it does quite a bit as well. So I think Mega Mutton might be reasonable. It would be much better in those tighter chokes that we used to have, so I kind of wish I had used him in patch 15 a little bit more. Alright, so Yeah, I mean, I wish I used him a little bit more in patch 15 because it seems like he was a pretty good unit. I guess nobody really just used him. He's kind of overshadowed, I guess, by Pete Poundmore and stuff. But I mean, you can tell this fire trap that used to do almost 200 damage now only does about 60 to me. It's really a shame, because I used to love these rotating cannon traps. I feel like they should have brought everything up to this rotating cannon. Like, made the balance for all the traps to do around the same amount of damage as this. That would have made them more usable, in my opinion. As they did it now, they just nerfed it so badly that almost all the traps are useless. So it's kind of like it doesn't matter what you actually put in. There's not really any synergy between traps anymore, traps and creatures. I guess the fire traps are okay still, although you know you can't place them as easily because they nerfed that as well. Definitely going to be a rough patch for defenders for sure. Hopefully we won't have to wait a month. Hopefully they'll listen to the community and we'll be able to get this, maybe the rooms back to normal at the very least. But yeah, I do think that developers do a little bit too much nerfing, and I feel like they should buff things up to the level of the like quote-unquote overpowered things. If something's overpowered, maybe buff the hero. I mean, there's certain things where I think they should have nerfed it. There's like deserved nerfs. In the case of Pete Poundmore and Scorpio, those could have been arguments for deserved nerfs. But the rooms or rotating cannons, no one was complaining about that. Like, I feel like all of that was in a good spot. If anything, we needed more rooms. And it looks like I actually did it without thinking. I aggroed both groups, and I wasn't even trying to, so... Oh yeah, that worked out well. He actually got enraged there, and he's just doing a ton of damage to me. Yeah, I really like him. I think I'm going to make more use of Mega Muttons in the future. Just give more thought on how I could use it better. Because this is the first day of the patch. I definitely have a lot of refinement to do. Although Scorpios do seem to have just more tankiness in general, which doesn't make sense to me because they have less life in the tooltips. Like, quite a bit less, actually. And I think their armors are reasonably the same as well. Like, I think they might have 5% more armor on Scorpios. Alright, so that's a little bit too easy. I'm not sure what I could have done to change that. I guess it's just for archers a little bit too easy. I don't know. Maybe I can move the creature that was spotting for this. Maybe I can move it down this area so it's behind the skill bar. Because just ranging that, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be easy almost regardless. Maybe I can make this trap down here. I'm trying to just see how this would all work. Because you want people to not be able to abuse these corners when they're going against archers. Which that was my idea here, is as you're coming in through this, sticky trap, that, oh no, now I see that there's an archer, I pull back, but I get hit by it anyway. That was the idea, but it's definitely going to take some tweaking to be able to get that right, I think. Alright, like this trap, it's pretty difficult to dodge this fully. Like, I just did it there, but you have to wait for all of them to be lined up. And you'd waste too much time, so I think people would walk over this and just get hit by one tick of damage pretty often, which is 300 damage. It's about the best that you can do right now, so I don't know. We'll leave it in there for now and see what happens. And then it's just the boss room, so we'll just go through that real quick. And I don't know, guys. Definitely feel free to use any of the ideas that I, gave in this. And if you come up with anything great, submit your castle through viewer castles and I'll get to it. Even like in the comment or email that you send me, let me know that hey, I think I came up with something cool. I want you to check it out or something. Definitely say something like that, and maybe I'll do it a little bit quicker or whatever. I'm kind of delaying recording more viewer castles. I might do 1 or 2 tonight, just because I know probably people haven't updated their castles since this patch, and this patch just changed absolutely everything. So this will be probably the next video to go out. But yeah, I don't know, that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed it, I hope it helped a little bit. Maybe gave you guys some extra ideas of ways you could use these type of things in your own castles. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.